I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio with me, your host, Yaya Diamond. What's up, peoples? How you doing? It is the author's edition. And I am so very excited to have my next guest on the show today. It's Cynthia Rapazzini. I love her last name. I truly do. It is a beautiful last name, and I hit it on the ball. You guys know I've been practicing names, and she has a mental health book, and we're going to be going into mental health today. And if you have been struggling or know someone who has been struggling, this is going to be the guide for you. So I have Cynthia Rapazzini on the show today talking about mental health and her book. And we're going to go ahead and go over to her. Where are you located at this moment in time, Cynthia?
Las Vegas, Nevada, the capital
Awesome.
of the world. So they say.
So they say, right? So tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm currently a school counselor, currently working with middle school students. Previously, for 7.5 years, I worked with elementary students, helping them find their way, making good choices about their education. They're still a little bit young, but it's never too early to actually lay that foundation. And so making life choices. Middle school is a really difficult age for students. And so helping them make the right choices is my purpose. Also, even at a young age, health is present. Cope and helping them with coping skills, appropriate coping skills is absolutely necessary. And it doesn't just help them as young children, it actually helps them through life. So it's very, very important. So that is my purpose is to help children and guide and offer my assistance.
I hear you. There's just so much going on. You have the cyberbullying, you have the bullying at school, you have the drugs, you have the suicide, you got all of the different things that are going on. You got the home factors. And so all of these things kind of equate to sometimes a very rough environment for those children, mentally as well as physically. In the book that you wrote, what were you focused on?
Focused on just different ways and different scenarios to help students and to just different problems and different things that I saw. One of the things that I saw, I did grounded theory research, and so I was able to hold several focus groups, and I wanted to get different viewpoints from individuals about mental health. And it was quite eye-opening, but there's a lot of stigma attached to mental illness, and that's one of the things that I really wanted to try to reduce. I understand that it's when you are faced with the unknown and you just don't understand, then it's kind of easy to form a negative opinion. But when you are informed and you have information, then you can make better decisions and your perception changes. And so that was my goal, to provide information. But in the focus groups that I held for my research, I was able to get a lot of information of how people think with regards to mental illness. And so I was able to get a lot of information. And so from there, then I could address some of the issues that individuals had. But, it's the stigma that is attached to mental illness. It's really, we have to wake up, because what ends up happening is individuals will have the attitude, oh, well, it's just, it's a down day, or I'm just feeling blue. The thing is yes, we have down days. Every day is not perfect. I wish that it was, but that's just not the way life is. And so we do have down days, and I understand that. But when the days become weeks and weeks and weeks, and it just persists, then we have to do something about that. So, when things are happening and they're going on for, 2 or 3 weeks, anytime it's over about 3 weeks, according to American Psychological Association, we're supposed to reach out and get help. And getting help, that is the smart thing to do. It's okay to do that. But what happens a lot of times is individuals are listening to other people, and it could be friends, it could be family members, and they're hearing negatives about seeking help, and then they don't do it.
Yeah.
And then it stops a lot of people from actually getting help, and that's really unfortunate. So I'm hoping that the book is giving examples and sharing information that will reduce that.
You know, this is important. You're right. You're so right. There is a stigmatism with mental health. You know, everyone goes through something, you know, and that is mental health. If you're going through a crisis right now where you're suffering from a loss of a job, that can mentally, you know, make you a little bit more temporarily, but even though it's still a mental health issue, because you're thinking about how I'm going to pay my bills, how I'm going to take my children, how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to, you know, I got to keep a roof over my head. It can be a lot. Some people, that is the beginning of their mental health issues, where they're always thinking about that. There are people that are always thinking about they have a disease. You know, some people are you know, they've just been damaged so much as a child that they've carried this on throughout their adulthood, and now it's a mental situation for them. There is no stigmatism. There should be no stigmatism. You're right.
Right.
There should be a solution, or
Yeah.
some way to help each other. Everyone has mental health issues. Everyone.
Yes,
Not
yes, we
one.
should. Yes.
There's not one. There's not one time in my life where I can't say I didn't have a mental health issue. I've gone through a bunch of different things, and I've had to get over those things. And it took someone else to help me to get over them.
Yes. Yeah.
So there is no stigmatism. We need each other, and we need that book. Definitely, definitely. What have you focused on afterwards that maybe possibly could be a sequel to the book, or do you have one in mind?
I do, because just from my personal experience, going through the loss of my husband and how it all transpired. It was during the pandemic, so it was very traumatic for me, not being able to see him, because at that time you couldn't go to the hospital, and
Yeah.
it was the most traumatic experience that I've gone through. So trauma is something that you really don't get over. You learn how to cope. Does it take time? Absolutely. And so that is my next project.
Awesome.
And yeah, uh, helping to go through it. Now, can you learn to live? Absolutely. But it's a process. It really is. It's something that you just, that's a very, very difficult one to get over. But we still are here on this earth, and we still have to exist. And so we have to find ways to cope and to go on with life. So that is my next project that, well, hopefully everyone will be hearing about. But so that's the next thing.
That's really good. I mean, a lot of people have lost people during COVID. You know, there's been some of my friends that have passed away, close relatives that have passed away during this time. And I think that time really did bring on the realization of what was important and what wasn't important to a lot of people. A lot of people. A lot of people changed careers. A lot of people didn't make it, and a lot of people did. And I think it did stain us all. Stained us all. And so, you know, I understand where you're coming from with your next book. And I wish you nothing but the best. If someone was to want to pick up this book today, you know, maybe they have a family member in Maui that went through the entire fire and they've lost everything. And this book may just have something to help them through day one, day two. You know, maybe they'll break it up or whatever and try to get through whatever they're going through, or someone just lost a family member, or whatever the travesty might be, or the mental issue might be at this time. What can they get from the book?
What can they get? They'll definitely coping, a way to cope. There is a workbook, and there's a questionnaire that's really important for them, and it'll give them an opportunity to really think about what they're experiencing. And it just brings it all to the forefront. And they have to be open and honest about how they're feeling. That's so very, very important. And even when they decide that they're going to see a therapist, it's so important to be honest, because the therapist isn't going to really be able to help them if they don't know the truth. But there is a questionnaire for them to really work on and think about how they're feeling. And that will be a guide for them and to really understand how they're feeling. So that is at the end of the book. And I think that's very, very helpful for them. So they'll find that. But throughout the book, they're going to be able to really, some of the examples is going to resonate with them. And so that I believe that they'll find that really helpful. And then there's just so much information. And I wrote it in a way that everybody can understand it. So the clinical terminology that I used, I really explained that because I wanted to make sure that everybody could understand it. And I did that on purpose because prior to entering into this mental health field, to me, and I mentioned this in the book, but it was when I would read some of the books, it was, I said it was psychobabble mumbo jumbo, because I just didn't, some of the clinical terminology I just didn't understand. So it was really important for me to explain what it meant so people would understand and wouldn't get turned off, because I want them to read the book. So I think that they'll find a lot of the examples, a lot of the terminology, just a lot of, they'll understand it, and it's an easy read. So I think they'll enjoy reading it.
That's wonderful. Learn. That's wonderful. And I love that you put the clinical terms in there, because then, you know, when people are talking around them, they understand it. I think the thing is the breakdown of not understanding what people are saying. So if I'm standing in front of a doctor and I don't know the clinical term for a UTI, which is a urinary tract infection, but they say UTI, UTI. What is a UTI? That gets me upset because are you talking about me? And what is a UTI? And please, somebody fill me in on what's going on. You know, so actually having those clinical terms in the book, understanding what they are, now they can actually grab a hold of that and actually use that in their daily day, you know, kind of recovery. That's wonderful. Wow. Thank you so much, Ms. Rapazzini, for being on the show. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And thank you for having me.
Anytime, anytime. Where can people get the book?
Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble. Here in Las Vegas, Barnes & Noble on 95. They know where it is. It's in the bookstore, but Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Wow. What is it like to see your book in the store?
It's, well, it's really interesting. Even just to have the book signings, I just never thought that it would be there, but it's quite exciting. And they're very receptive, and I do appreciate it. So I have my little spot, and so I'm very proud of that. So it's very nice. It's exciting.
Yes, definitely. I agree with you. Very, very exciting. I want to thank you so much, Ms. Rapazzini, for being on the show again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to Dare to Be Different. We're going to have all that information in the description box wherever you're watching. That way you can go ahead and possibly, if you need it, get the book. If you don't, get it for someone who may have the need for it. Thank you again so much. And until next time, guys, bye.